We joined the trip to the provinces with the Minister of Information and Communication to inform the public, the general public, particularly those in the provinces, because I'm sure the situation we find ourselves is a very, very difficult situation. Bread and butter issues, as everybody would say, was one of the key campaign issues that we actually campaigned on in the 2018 elections. And so when you have prices of commodities going up, I think as a government we owe the responsibility to explain to you what is happening. First, I'll have to state that it's unfortunate that over the years there has not been much focus on industry. There has not been much focus on value addition. We've only been trading with other countries, essentially buying and selling. And so you will hear that almost 80 to 90% of the rice we consume actually comes from other countries. The sugar we eat comes from other countries. Even the clothing we wear, every other commodity, most of which, except maybe marine resources, fish, but even the fuel we consume on a daily basis comes from other countries. So you realize that our resilience to shocks, our ability to be able to resist global shocks is actually not very good. And this is something which has been the case over the years for a very, very long period of time. And when I took over the team, the Ministry of Trade and Industry tried to look at what we can do to see how we build up our industry base. Remember when His Excellency the President first addressed Parliament, one of the things that came out in his statement was that manufacturing was meagerly contributing to GDP. That was about 2%. Today, with our efforts we're making, you're seeing that manufacturing is coming up gradually. In the last World Bank report, it's clearly stated that manufacturing is now contributing between 8 to 10% to GDP. So you realize that one of the key drivers for commodity pricing, which is freight, the actual money you pay to shippers to bring commodities you buy from other countries into your own country, has been going up. You can all check on Google, check the Baltic Index, which tells the cost of transportation. It gives an indication of how the cost of shipment of bulk commodities has been going up. Sometimes you see it come down a little bit and then it takes the upward trend. It has been happening this way, and today I'll start to inform us that it's mainly the increase in freight that is really responsible for the price hikes of essential commodities, particularly those commodities that we consume in the country, or those commodities that we import into the country. For certain commodities also, because it's not just freight, we've seen that the global price for crude oil has been going up. 2 days ago it went up by $2, and the refined products too have been going up. It will interest you to note that within the sub-region, Sierra Leone is still among the few countries that is selling the cheapest or the lowest priced fuel. If you go to Guinea, 2 days ago, the military regime there actually decided to bring the fuel price down to 10,000 Guinea francs from about 12,000. But even when you check that, it's still above the Sierra Leone 10,000 units per liter. But the Guinea franc is stronger than the Leone. When we do this comparison, a lot of people are tempted to think that, oh, but Sierra Leone is different from other countries. As true as that may be, let me inform you that we all still buy from the same market. Buy fuel from the same market as Guinea, as Ghana, as Nigeria, as any other country. So, and when you go to buy these products, they don't say because you are from Sierra Leone, so we're going to sell it cheaper. Another commodity I would like to reference is cement. I think it has become one of the essential commodities on our list now, because everybody, the level of construction taking place in this country is really amazing, and I'm sure everybody has shifted from the use of some of our traditional local building materials to concrete, and because of that the demand for cement has really gone up. Before COVID, we used to buy cement at $20 per metric ton. 1 metric ton is about 20 bags, and the bag is 50 kilograms from Turkey. And we also used to pay a freight of $20. Today, a metric ton of cement from Turkey and the freight has jumped up to $70, and it's still going up. So it doesn't matter what you do. Why the whole price for cement today, the Dangote is going for 87,000 units wholesale. Leosem is selling the 32.5R at 82,000, and the 42.5R at 92,000 units. If you go on to the next commodity, rice, after our importers, numerous engagement with our importers and our effort as a government to see how we can also bring in rice, the lowest quotation you can have for rice now is $500 per metric ton. And if you see that the Big Joe rice currently at wholesale is trading at 313, and the Chinese round butter brand rice is selling at 305, I think you will start to see reasons why that is so. So like I started earlier, it's a very difficult moment for every one of us here. We're all buying from the same market. Nobody goes to say, oh, because he's Minister of Trade, we're going to sell less to you. I also have my family and friends and the whole of Sierra Leoneans. We relate as a family. So we cannot sit by and see prices of commodities going up for no reason other than just letting the importers push the prices up. I hear a number of people talk about price control, that we don't have price control. I'd like to inform you all that we do have price control. And we have price control at two levels. We control price at the wholesale level. When the importers bring in these goods, we do the costings, we calculate, and try to add the margin. And we all agree that they should be selling at that price, and that's why you can see, as Minister of Trade, I can boldly stand here to announce that the wholesale price of this is this, that is that, because we and the importers have already agreed. And you remember that at one time in August, around the second week of August, something happened in the market. And what was that? The Baltic index jumped, and the freight jumped from $32 to $35 per metric ton of cement to about $68. It was almost twice, it doubled. And so you realize that at that time, a number of importers of cement were in shock, and they were even wondering whether they could import. Yet we are accepted, they brought in, and that was what really caused the disruption in the market in around the second week of August. Nonetheless, after we gave them the assurance, because in our thinking, it's always good, and that's the mantra. We want to make sure that we have enough stock of all essential commodities. And if you see even the efforts of government during at the height of COVID, through the Bank of Sierra Leone, the government of Sierra Leone offered a facility to importers of essential commodities. $50 million was given so that all importers could bring enough stock of commodities in the country. Our next intervention was creating a facility for deferred payment of taxes. So what happened was, when commodities prices were going up and freights were also going up, importers will find it difficult to be able to get all of the money to clear their goods and pay taxes. So the NRA created the facility so that you can clear your goods without paying the taxes, and after sales you do a payment arrangement and then you pay your taxes later. I think that was a privilege that was extended to our importers, and it's helped them all long way. We also had the bonded warehouse, which allowed importers to clear the goods so that they do not accrue demurrage, and stock it in the bonded warehouse of the NRA, so that whenever they could clear it from the NRA, they could easily clear it without paying those huge demurrages. So you also have seen the emphasis which the Ministry of Trade continues to put on our the need to increase industry, the need to encourage more and more people to produce, be it agriculturally, and we've been also engaging our importers to see how to switch from just buying and selling into setting up factories in the country. The Ministry of Trade in the last 2 years has signed about 10 agreements for the establishment of factories in this country. If today we can boast that our vegetable oil is the cheapest in the sub-region, selling at $27 per batter, or what you refer to as the 20 liters, it is because Subfin and Goldtree and other local entrepreneurs have been able to grow enough palm trees, and now they're harvesting, and we can produce enough palm oil, crude palm oil. Before this time, we used to buy most of the crude palm oil even from Malaysia, but that has stopped. Today we have a zero net importation of crude palm oil and also vegetable oil, because that success led to the establishment of 2 factories that now refine our crude palm oil into vegetable oil. And what that has also helped us do is increase our export volume. Now we are exporting stearin from palm oil, fatty acid from palm oil, and other byproducts going to Senegal, Ivory Coast, the Gambia, etc. So you can see that those 2 agreements we did with Dulax, which is producing paddy oil, and Kisi, which is producing palm oil, has actually helped us in dealing with the vegetable oil commodity. What we also did was to sign 2 agreements with 2 companies that are that are milling or making flour, wheat flour. We had the old Sierra Leone flour mill that was almost dead. We revitalized it. It's owned by a Sierra Leonean. We revitalized it. We did an agreement for the Sierra Leone flour mill, and today they are producing flour. We did also an agreement with Sunoco. Currently, the 2 factories which they're supposed to build, one is under construction. They will not only be milling flour, but they will also be producing bakery equipment in this country, the first in the whole of the sub-region. So you can see also that with flour, Sierra Leone is doing amazing work in terms of both the quantity that's available and the price. If we go to Guinea, the reason why Sunoco is no longer bringing flour from Guinea that it used to bring is because the flour in Guinea is more expensive, it's more costly than the one we have in Sierra Leone here, thanks to what Sierra Leone flour mill is doing. Our flour, the wholesale price is now between 290 to 300,000. In Guinea, it's between 310 to 320 Guinea franc. If you convert that into leones, maybe it's around 340 to 350 leones. So you can see that in as much as those prices are going up, but comparatively Sierra Leone is doing better with those products. And of course, no need I mention petroleum products, although a lot of people were speculating that petroleum products would have gone up this month. But as a caring government, knowing that the ramification will be huge, we can still try to solve what it takes to keep petroleum prices where they are. I have to also inform you that as part of our price control mechanism, we are rolling out the Consumer Protection Commission come January. And this commission is established by law with very, very, very strong provision in its law to bite all those rogue businesses. And that's why I want to use this opportunity to admonish our business people. I know we have a number of businesses that are actually doing business genuinely, but you still have some that will take advantage of every opportunity to squeeze our people. This Consumer Protection Act is going to bite, and its rollout is going to ensure that we're able to have more consumer protection workers across the country. The price control we have at the retail price is actually done by our trade monitors. Unfortunately, we only have 92 trade monitors across the country. So if you divide 92 by 16 districts, you want to imagine how many trade monitors will be in each district. So in as much as they are trying very, very hard, you will agree with me that the number is not large enough to be spread across every part of this country. So those are some of the messages we took out. Even with the petroleum sector, we've tried to expand it in a way that we're now bringing in more players. And what that is going to mean for the consumer is that you're going to have more alternatives. You will not necessarily have to buy them from one OMC. And we've got APP, who was given the old refinery to rehabilitate, and also the old jetty, which they have done. And very soon they're going to be going live with their products. So you see that that is even going to cause us to look at the possibility, although we still have the pricing formula for petroleum products, but we're not in the future going to say that all OMCs should sell at 10,000, for instance. We can only say you can sell at most or maximum 10,000. So because there are now more companies, it's now up to them, and the competition is going to go at play. So for those who want to sell 9,500, good for them, once you're able to make your margin. If you want to sell 9,800, good for them. So if you're going to stick to 10,000, fine. I'm sure the consumer are now going to have an alternative, either to go buy from a traditional dealer or to go buy from a dealer who is selling relatively cheap. So these are all the things that we're trying to do. We've done a number of other agreements with different products. We are into an agreement with another brewer company. We're into an agreement with companies that want to come and replace the old Freetown cold storage, which shut down because of complaints of making losses. And by the time I took over, they told me that in the last 15 years they'll be making losses. But we now have new players coming in. We have the American Beverage, we have the General Beverage, we have another company that is along the Freetown Junction Highway. So you will see that in spite of all the challenges, government has been very sensitive and has tried to help as much as we can to see how we ameliorate some of the impact of the global shocks. When Ebola was here, it only affected 3 countries, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia. And all the attention was on those 3 countries, resources coming in. But today with COVID, it's affecting all countries. And the lockdowns have actually caused the number of global fleets, number of ships plying the routes, reducing dramatically. So now even when you go to buy, you hardly be able to get your shipment done easily. So you can see that what we've been able to do to even organize the private sector, the importers, through public-private dialogue, encouraging them to do joint importation, has really helped a whole long way. And I'm sure most of the importers you have, if you talk to them, will definitely acknowledge the support which government has been giving them. So I'll have to close by stating that we still find ourselves in turbulent moments. His Excellency once said that he promised to steer the boat, and we're definitely going to find ourselves in turbulent moments, but we should believe in his leadership. I'm very, very sure as all of these global variables tone down and things return back to normal, we're definitely going to see prices of commodities returning back to where they were. We are determined as a Ministry of Trade to not only ensure that it happens, but we're also going to ensure that we have our own factories coming up. Today I just held a meeting with an investor who wants to come and establish a factory to produce stationery, paper, notebooks, pens, pencils, etc., etc. If you want to check how much we spend each year on the importation of those items, I think it's quite huge. We also held a meeting with the importers of rods, and we are going to go after them, especially the rogue ones. They are supposed to be selling in metric tons. We're going to make sure that our consumers have value for money. And it's on that note that I'll also announce to you that we've done 2 agreements with 2 companies that are coming to establish factories that will be producing rods and steel bars. Initially, they will be using scrap metals. Over the years, we've been sending our scrap metals to China, to India. For the first time, we're going to have a factory that will be recycling scrap metals in the short term, and in the long term, they'll be looking at how they extract iron from the ore. And our broader industry policy review, the special economic zone policy that we are going to introduce, is going to ensure that we try to strengthen the industry base in 3 areas: light manufacturing, looking at what we can do with all those small commodities that we mostly import; mineral beneficiation, how we do value addition to our minerals. So instead of actually exporting the iron ore or the bauxite, we see what we can do with extracting those metals from those minerals. And thirdly, what we can do with agro-processing. I know the Ministry of Agriculture is doing a lot now to try to produce more. If we are not able to do value addition to our agricultural produce, for instance, converting our cacao into chocolate, doing our own coffee powder, also looking at what we do with tomato into tomato paste, looking at what we do with pepper into pepper sauce. I see everybody come hitting us even when the price of pepper goes up, failing to realize that it's a seasonal product. And the other thing which you also fail to realize is that most of the pepper we consume during the rainy season is not actually produced in Sierra Leone, but it's coming from Mali, Senegal, Niger, etc., etc. So, finally, this government is committed to working in the best interest of Sierra Leoneans, and we're not going to stop at anything. I engaged the paramount chiefs to be ready to provide pieces of land to help us implement the 1 district, 1 factory policy. And I'm sure our engagement in the provinces was very, very fruitful. I want to thank the Minister of Information for finding time to go around with me. He was my shining star. While we're going through the tour, I realized that he almost has all the information the Minister of Trade would have. Thank you very much.
Let me do some. Let me pay back some stuff. Yeah? So, thank you so very much. Listening to you in the last couple of days during our provincial outing has prepared me to be able to stand in the gap even in your absence. You know. So going forward, probably we need a 1-pager. The situation at a glance. Remember we spoke about it. So the media and other salient stakeholder groups we meet should be able to share that in their various communities. But a couple of things stood out in Dr. Sandy's presentation. Number 1, he has been very, very clear that government has continued to demonstrate commitment to the upliftment of the general populace. He indicated that during when COVID broke, we put together a quick action economic response program which had core pillars, including one to ensure that we had enough basic essential commodities in country so that even at the very peak of COVID, while other countries were struggling and literally struggled, Sierra Leone continued to have enough and abundant basic resources that we did not have to kill for. You have seen videos going viral on social media where people were queuing up for basic essential commodities. We were prepared enough to ensure that did not happen. And for quite a reasonable period of time, prices remained stable. It did not happen by accident. It is because this government is quite aware that the day of planning is different from the day of battle. The other bit that we must see and stress is that when His Excellency took over in 2018, he noted that this country remains very vulnerable to shocks, particularly from what happens in other countries. Global commodity prices. Our iron ore prices have remained flux because of the over-reliance on global commodity markets. We virtually import 90% of all of the things we use, and so we are a very, very vulnerable nation. We are literally a captive nation. So he did say, look, we have to free ourselves from this captivity. We will diversify the economy into fisheries, the blue economy, into agriculture, and into tourism. We all could bear witness to the fact that before COVID struck, we had started receiving increased tourist arrivals. We played host to the Budapest Bamako rally here, and I understand one is set for next year. All of this is because government did not just sleepwalk into those things. We made practical provisions for them. We removed GST on all travel, air travel related costs, right? So that is why you had tourists finding it easy to come to Sierra Leone. On the agriculture front, you know, we brought in over 240 pieces of equipment, various farm implements, and this time not distributed to the political class like in yesteryears. I remember passing through Female College. For the most part, you had one compound where you had a tractor pass, and you know, they literally put their laundry out there to dry. You know, this time government has brought in the private sector. We are now working with the private sector through machine rings and through e-vouchers to ensure that all those who require the services of tractors and farm inputs are able to get them without any political considerations, without let or hindrance. You could also, you are also well aware, like the minister noted, that during Ebola, the whole world concentrated on Sierra Leone. We made massive millions here, you know, in various forms of support to government and to, you know, other stakeholder groups. In those periods, we still did not find time for our people. You know, I have not once heard about government doing direct cash transfers to market women, to less fortunate members of the community during Ebola, when we had all the whole world focusing on us and when we had a lot of resources. President Bill is a very compassionate person. This government is a people-centered government. Even in the midst of all these challenges, we found time during this period to distribute cash directly to those who need it very much to keep their businesses buoyed up. Remember, we also gave 3 months' salary each to people who have lost their jobs in the hotel and tourism sector. Remember that? During the periodic lockdowns, the short lockdowns, we also did direct cash transfers to people living with disabilities. This tells you this government truly, honestly, and sincerely cares for the welfare of our people. His Excellency did say at one point when he was launching the digital ID program at Radisson Blue that yes, we realize these are turbulent times, but he's a very trained, experienced, tried and tested pilot to ensure that he lands this flight safely even during this turbulence. So I want to enlist all of you to continue to support us, be patient, and finally, you know, to demonstrate that he clearly understands his terrain. He did say, I want each and every political appointee to go into farming. This is part of freeing ourselves from the shackles of vulnerability that we currently face from our dependence on foreign commodities. So in the last 2 years or so, His Excellency gleefully tells us he eats what he grows and grows what he eats. So I was just wondering if opposition politicians, I have to commend some of them who farm, but I want to encourage a lot more to leave the armchair a corner. Let us now join the president and all of us to do farming. That way we reduce our dependence on you know, foreign importation of goods. On that note, I thank you very much. I'm sure we'll come to Q&A. I don't know if everybody.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ministers, for the presentation. And now, members of the front estate, you've had it, and then questions, clarifications, comments are welcome. As usual, your name and the media institution you represent. Thank you. I want to start with the man in blue up here. Yes, you have the mic, just put it on and then.
My name is Isaac Unisa Kamara, Momento newspaper. Well, there is still a rising in price of commodities in different places in the country. Statistics Sierra Leone is telling us that since March there is a rise in consumers price index up to this time as of last month. And now, according to you, the minister may not tell us exactly what is happening here at the water key. You are telling us about government due to railway machinery provided for importers. In a press conference like this, I would have expected people from representative from NRA must have answered for some questions. The question is, how effective is the government's duty-free machinery is working at the NRA when prices are still going up?
Yes, let's have the man there. Yes, you have the mic.
I am Adeyemi and I work for Freedom Media. My questions goes directly to the Minister of Trade. I'm a bit surprised that today the Minister has confirmed that indeed we have price control in this country. Before then, we are thinking that we are operating on a free market economy system. Under the price control, he indicated that it be divided into two folds. You have the wholesale, where you sit with the importers, you do the costing, you do the calculation, and you agree at a specific amount of prices which some importers should sell their goods. But one might say, Mr. Minister, before then we used to have what we call trade monitors that goes around in terms of monitoring how these importers do sell their goods. But today, you will agree with me that what you agree in your office or in your ministry is completely different from what is being done out there. Today, the cost of a bag of rice is being sold about a little bit above 400,000 euros. Today, the ordinary man cannot afford to eat 3 square meals a day due to the high increment of prices on food commodities. What is happening? Two, Mr. Minister, I know you are aware of what is happening in Britain, specifically in London, in terms of fuel shortage, to a point that the British government have to bring in the military to start supplying fuels to those that cannot access it. And he also said that the crude oil, the prices of crude oil going up every now and then. What is the status in terms of fuel? Do we have enough in store should in case anything happens? Lastly, Mr. Minister, please, Mr. Tui, Mr. Minister, what is happening with the issue of cement? You mentioned that the prices of cement goes up because of the rapid construction taking place, to a point that people now do not focus or pay attention to the local products. But you will agree that even these local products you are referring to are also expensive. Is it that your reforms which you have taken time to explain to us are not working? Thank you.
Okay, I will come to Bompa, that the last man there before Bompa. Yes. Not the other man.
So Bompa refers the question to me.
Yes.
Directed to me. Okay.
My name is Alhaji Saidu Kamara and I write for the Global Times newspaper. First, I'll direct the question to the Minister of Trade and Industry. First of all, I was really impressed because all I have known about the Minister of Trade is only about buying and selling. But from what he has just explained to us in terms of the development that is taking place, it shows that the Ministry of Trade and Industry is working. It's the only thing that they are not informing the public. Now, the question concerning about the issue of the prices control, just in line with what my colleagues have just said. In other words, it appears that the ministry is still not in control, or the government is not in control of prices to people. Because the minister have just explained to us that before ever they sell this, after the importers have put their commodities, they sit down and discuss. And then he said that, for instance, the old sales, they have paid 87,000 euros. The other is about 82,000, and the imported cement is 92,000. From that point of view, shows that there are factors, all other issues, because we know that any businessman is to make profits. You understand? It's based upon that discussion they should have arrived to this particular amount. But from what we have just seen is that most of these people had another additional amount of 40,000 euros. And that's why I want to ask the ministry, where did they have this amount? For instance, they have argued for 87,000. They make another addition of 40,000 equals that to 120,000 a bag. What is the monitoring mechanism? Do you understand? Because you say that you are going to factors all that issue, this include the laborers moving from one transport to another. All the factor from that price, then that's 87 or that 92. But no sooner after you are making all these arrangements, these business people make another additional amount. It's very ridiculous. Some of them up to 40,000, up to 50,000. Already from the previous one that you have already said when we meet with them, importance. So that is where people are asking what this government is doing.
Okay, that question is understood.
That is one. The second one is the Ministry of
Information.
Yes, to my colleague there. You see, it is very important. What I just want to ask, because this issue is very, very important, because it will put the government in a bad mood. So therefore, they have started a very good. But I want to ask, when are they going to continue? Because in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, they have a very good, eloquent speakers. The minister is one, of course, his deputy. And just this narrator, of course, Mr. Conjo, I've had about him over the way. We know how to address issues. How are you going to continue with these provision engagement so that the people can understand some of these issues, so that we can expose so that people are creating problem? And mind you, let me come back to the minister. He said that government has given a sum of $50 million to assist these importers. In fact, that is why we are very lucky as compared to other countries. In spite of when things are very expensive, but we are able to buy them because they are here as compared to other countries in Nigeria. If government has already done all of this, why the traders or these importers are still increasing price? That's the concern of the people. Thank you.
And Haji, I gave you a lot of time.
Exactly.
And this is your first time, and so, but we normally summarize. Can we get Bumper, please? Let me just take Bumper, and then we take the first.
You have to ask
please.
I sir, Bumper.
You have opportunity to ask questions, please. Let's take this first one.
Joseph Saidu Bumper is my nomenclature from the Lion newspaper.
No publishing.
Mr. Minister of Trade, publication goes with, adverts. When there is no advert, there is no publication. Mr. Minister for Trade, I want to draw your attention, sir. That is in the area of the massive increase of GST affecting traders. Never elaborate about short-term issue. And looking about tangible investment of large scale towards healthy competition. There is no way Sierra Leone can write home about, and you are the minister in charge. Look about price harmonization. There is no price harmonization. There is an influx of price, various districts and various chiefdoms. What is your role as minister? And some people say the minister for trade is not friendly with the traders. And you need to be friendly with them, like the minister of information be friendly with the press. Let's be realistic, but you are not friendly with the traders, because you need to look at why not revamping the Victoria Park to ease congestion of transportation, because traders are languishing, selling around the street, and 95% of Victoria Park has been completed. Why not make good use of short-term gracious achievement? For the Minister for Information, sir.
Yes. Your good friend.
The Minister for Information.
Yeah, go ahead, sir, please.
The pen pusher. We look at breaking news. And for this week, the breaking news is about Koinadugu.
Yeah.
Koinadugu. By election.
Yeah.
As a minister for information. Don't you think that in the area of Koinadugu by election, looking at net workers, caught tampering with the RR form to convert 49 to 149 or to 29 to 129 raised by the opposition. How transparent and credible is this NEP commissioner being appointed by President Bio? Appointed by President Bio. How credible our 2023 election will be?
Thank you.
And I want to draw your attention again, sir. That is towards 2018 that the SLPP asked for recount. But now the APC have asked for recount. The NEP commissioner bypassed the procedures by petition and announced the result without having dialogue with the opposition.
Okay.
Let me be realistic for
your time is up.
Mr. T, please.
But you've asked the question. How realistic?
Yes, because it's about supplementary.
Okay.
Now,
next time I will not give you the mic.
Okay.
You take all your time, please.
Okay. The Minister for Information, we heard him about chief should be involved toward politics, and there is a laws that said our chiefs should not. But why it was over here?
Okay.
So why the Minister
That's
for
the question.
succumb to what short-time idea that chief should involve toward politics?
Thank you very much.
When you have the 2023 next coming.
Thank you very much, Duncan. Pressmen and women, I have to hand over to the ministers, but before that, I think we may not feel otherwise that opinionating issues is also quite different from asking questions. As journalists, if we know our ethics and efforts, we don't opinionate. Ask questions and thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much for your questions. I think thank you very much. I'm sure bad news is very hard to sell. So even when we say it, we have to say it again. It's just been demonstrated here. I want you to calculate what the price of rice will be. A bag, even when you have not paid hot handling charges or transportation. If you are to buy a metric ton of rice for $500,
how many bags do you have in it?
you have 20 bags.
20.
And I'm sure, in fact, this is the other reason why I started stating that the main driver for consumer prices, or for price of commodity, is the freight which has been going up. Would you also want to calculate if you were to buy cement from Turkey at $51 and then pay freight for that 1 metric ton for $70 and then pay duty if it excludes 5%, if it's in a bag 20%, and then you pay GST at 15%. You pay storage, you pay port handling charges to remove the cement from the ship onto the storage at Watiki, and you pay transport to remove it from the Watiki to your storage. Pay for labor, pay for storage. How much is that cement going to cost wholesale? I don't know where you're buying cement, but I'm sure the price of cement in Freetown, retail prices around what, 105,000 or 110,000, depending on where you are in Freetown. So if you are to buy the cement at 92,000 units wholesale, and you have to pay transport, and you have your own margin, and if you sell it at 105,000, I'm not sure whether you want to blame that on no price control. So to operate an open market system does not necessarily mean you do not have price control. You have regulations. That's why we have the pricing formula for even fuel, even when we're operating a free market. Because we all want to be sure that whatever we are doing with the consumers, the interests of the consumers are also protected. So I'm not sure whether you're implying that because we're operating a free market, so we should not have any price control mechanism. So it also goes for the person who is saying the difference between wholesale and retail price. Wholesale is the price which the importer or the producer would sell at bulk, and then the retailers will go break the bulk into bits and try to sell. Except if you want to say that the kind of rice you consume is parboiled rice, but parboiled rice in the global market is not even going below $600. So take note of that. The cheapest rice I was referring to, the Chinese round rice, and the Chinese round rice, butter brand. In Freetown, it's sold around 115, 120. In the provinces, I am from McKinney, it's sold at 130. In fact, 330, 315, 320, depending on where you are in Freetown. In the provinces, it's going at 330. And the Sierra Leone, the government-owned SLPMC, is even selling it at its commodity stores at least 5,000 below whichever price in every part of the country where they are. Sometimes we just want to reference certain figures to make the story look extremely bad. But we all know that the rice which most people consume here, the butter brand, across the country is not even up to 340,000. It's below 340. In most places, in the provinces, it's sold at 330. But I think when we want to give our own stories, we try to get figures and try to make it look like all the rice that is sold in the country is sold at 400. Very few people eat the parboiled rice, I can tell you that. Most people eat either the butter brand or the big chop. The fuel situation is pretty good, and I have to inform you that what we've done with APP has helped us to double our storage capacity for fuel. And we are now having 2 additional, in fact 3 companies. We have Conex that's coming, we have Aminata that's coming, and we have APP. So I'm very, very sure, I think instead of receiving bashing for this, I should be applauded that we have still managed to keep the fuel price in Sierra Leone at 10,000. But except if you still want to, in spite of what we have just explained here, and even the crude oil price that's going up, we do not buy crude oil. We don't have a refinery here. What we buy is the refined product, and the prices are way, way high. And we have a pricing formula, which is an indication of some form of price control when it comes to fuel. And even when the public is speculating that because the fuel price in Guinea is 12,000, the fuel price in Ghana is more than 12,000, you heard in the news in Kenya a liter of fuel is selling at $1.20. So are we just thinking that Sierra Leone is isolated? Or are we still thinking that Sierra Leone produces its own fuel? We all buy from the same market. I have to state that again. That we even have it at 10,000 is only because of the kind of arrangement which government has put in place in the best interest of Sierra Leoneans. When fuel was at 12,000 Guinea franc in Guinea, we had an additional sale from normal of about 20%, meaning that about 20% of our fuel was actually crossing over to Guinea. Because the fuel there is cheap, sorry, it's expensive. Nobody will take products from one country where it's expensive to go and sell it where it's cheap. It's not possible. And I gave you a clear example of what is happening with flour. Sonoko used to bring flour from Guinea to here. But today they are not bringing it. Why? Because the flour in Guinea is more expensive than the flour in Sierra Leone. We are not saying this so that we receive accolade, but I'm sure some of these things we're doing is actually in the best interest of our fellow Sierra Leoneans. I didn't say that the price of cement is going up because the demand has gone up. I didn't say that. What I said was the demand for cement has gone up. Everybody is now buying cement to build houses. So the demand has gone up. So our dependence on cement is what has even caused us to be buying cement from other countries. Liosem used to produce cement, and at that time their market share was 50%. At times when people used to use brick molds in its sticks, because the demand for cement was still very low. But today, at this current demand, all of what Liosem produces is not even up to 10% of the market share. Because the demand of cement has gone up. And because Liosem cannot meet the local demand, that's why we go out to buy. I think we have to have these things very, very clear. So, somebody was talking about massive GST. Sierra Leone, among neighboring countries, is among the least countries that asks for, that has the lowest GST, 15%. Other countries, you go to Nigeria, you go to Ghana, the GST is either 15% or more. And even when it comes to duty, our duty is among the lowest. I think we all just have this misconception that, duty is high, custom is high. We understand the problems around clearing goods at the key, but I think it's getting better. And the creation of the single window that we are all agitating for is even going to make it a lot more easier. Remember, it's your own very Sierra Leoneans who are at the key. And you have instances where people say our clearing and forwarding agents, even before valuing the products or the goods that you bring at the key, they would already tell you that this is what you have to pay. But how would they be able to determine how much you pay when there has not been any valuation? So some of our scrupulous businesses are actually some of the headache. But I'm sure with all of what we're trying to do, the less interaction you have person to person, I think the better it's going to be. Friendliness of traders. I think you saw it all when I went to McKinney. How much the traders came out dancing just because the Minister of Trade was there. I talked to them about a number of things.
Are you friendly?
I'm not going to talk about my friendliness here. I'm just letting you know
You visit.
the love which the traders have for their Minister of Trade and
You
Industry.
don't go out dancing in the rain to enemy.
If you go to Bamwe Luma the other day, you had all the traders stopping business because their Minister of Trade and Industry was there. Where even the Ministry of Trade and Industry is supporting the construction of a VIP toilet and a solar-powered borehole. Maybe I will not say I'm friendly, but I have love for my traders, and I'm sure they too have love for me. When I was in Bow, the market women came out massively, singing and dancing. And out of my small purse, I bought 200 bags of cement to support the construction of their small office. So I'm not sure what friendliness you're referring to, but I think, to allay your fears, let me use your words. I am very friendly to my traders. Thank you.
Omba,
Yes, sir.
also the minister has been very clear on many issues. I accompanied him to Makeni, to Gambia, to Boom, and in all of those places, he had very, very tumultuous welcome. In Makeni, we had very interesting stories told of market women who danced in the last 10, 11 years of the previous administration and never got any direct support. They are very grateful for the Munafa Fund. We had beneficiaries on tape, paying glowing tributes to His Excellency for that magnanimity, And the traders have promised next time he goes there, they will paint that city green just to show the world that they appreciate it. But that is for another day, really, really, really. So you are concerned about the situation in Gambia.
No, Koinadugu.
Koinadugu.
Yes, right.
Well, so you should rightly be very concerned. The APC is in trouble. When you fight with somebody in your house, right? You could already see the numbers dropping from 27,000 last time around to around 20,000. The SLPP still remains in the same region, 13,000. Yeah. And more interestingly enough, you have seen the SLPP win a councillorship seat, something which was never the case in 2018. As to the very outrageous allegations, I am not going to constitute myself into a court of public opinion. I am going to allow due process to play out. I'm not competent to determine the allegations you mentioned. So it's important to note, maybe as we ask all these questions, now this is the very first time you have a Minister of Trade accentuating the industry bit on petroleum. Yeah? He's talking about for the very first time we are exporting oil to other countries. You forgot to share this with your colleagues here. In a recent official visit to Gambia, I've been very listening well to him in the last few days. His counterpart in the Gambia asked him to make arrangements so that they could have direct supply of vegetable oil to the Gambia market. Right? So these are part of the things that are happening. He's talking about a possibility of us beginning to manufacture iron rod and other things, which will help stem the tide, the growing tide of these commodities in the local market. I think we have to commend it. This country has had a huge development deficit in many areas. So now you have somebody who has a lot of appetite to ensure that we are able to address these issues in the medium to long term. We have to be patient with him. I understand once prices go up, the next thing is sack the Minister of Trade. But I tell you, he has done a lot of thinking and sitting in cabinet with him. He has brought some of the most progressive legislations to ensure that we create a more enabling environment for the private sector, for agro-processing and related businesses that will unshackle us from the usual shocks because of our dependence on imported commodities. Of course, the cement, he's spoken about the Baltic Index. If you go there now, you see, when he mentioned it, that was when I went to do the research. I never knew about it before. Yeah. So you see how freight charges and the products of the commodities themselves before they get to Freetown are impacting the current situation here. It's a very tough call, but I think you can continue to trust this government. Even when His Excellency was at Onga, he spoke to the president of one of the world's leading producers of rice that were relied on over the years from Vietnam. You must have seen that. Those bilateral conversations might only result in one thing: benefit for our country, like with all other things. And for the media, you guys are smarter than some of the things that you publish. I know that, because I've been with you for close to 4 years. I have seen media outlets only concentrate on the cost of the president's travel abroad. They never do cost-benefit analysis, and that is very, very sad. The president went to the GPE summit in London. Sections of the press said he traveled for a virtual summit. How insulting would that be? Your president is being singled out amongst African leaders because of his commitment to human capital development, because of his radical inclusion policy in the school system, to go and share his story with the rest of the world. We should be celebrating even if we don't like him. Right? That many things beautiful are happening in Sierra Leone. He went there. Out of the amount raised, Sierra Leone has been considered for $22.4 million, United States dollars, for that, for the schools, for the free quality education. And yet people say, hey, don't spend for money. How much money could you spend on the delegation? You are talking about cost-benefit analysis. It's always important. Cost-benefit analysis, rather than running the big headlines. It's also good if we have to be expected, continue to be expected, to scratch a little bit beneath the surface. That would be really helpful. He went to the United States, right? Just to indicate that he's one of those very respected African leaders. In the last 2 years, he is one African leader who has met with both the World Bank and the IMF at the very highest levels. In all of those engagements and at the MCC, they have paid glowing tributes to his commitment to moving his country forward, for bold economic steps he has taken at reforming. Yes, we have to respect this. And in the US also, he was able to bring home below above 20. The least amount of money he got coming for the country was $15 million. He had $25 million for school feeding program. And yet we sit and say the president travels. For God's sake, we will endorse him to do more and more travels as long as they result to the betterment of this country. As long as they result to getting more kids off the street to school. As long as they will ensure that we do not have to queue up for commodities. As long as they will ensure that this economy does not overheat more than where it is now. Ladies and gentlemen, these are difficult times for the world. Like the president noted, these are turbulent moments. What is the tried, tested, and proven pilot? Just be patient. We will ensure that we land safely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And then please let's limit our questions. Forget about preambles. Go straight to the question. Now I take just four for this last round. Thank you very much. If you have a mic by you, okay, let me start with you. Yes. That's your microphone.
The Lion.
Yes, sir.
Are you leaving?
Yes.
Okay.
Even though my question was not answered.
Thank you very much. Yes. You need the media institution.
I'm Ibrahim G. Conte, and I work for the Heritage newspaper. This one goes to the Trade Minister, Dr. Sandy. Dr. Sandy, in your submission, you did make mention of indeed there will be turbulent times ahead. Unlike other African countries that have actually put in strategies to cushion some of the impact of the COVID-19, you haven't deliberated much on what is your ministry done or some of the policies being put in place that we can able to handle some of those challenges that COVID has actually impacted us. The second question also goes to the Trade Minister as well. That indeed, in your comparison, you did mention of other African countries. Of course, when you compare the cost of a bag of rice as $35, right, is pretty reasonable when compared to other African countries. But one might ask about the economic strength. And if you compare the economic strength with some of these African countries, I think it is very much outrageous. Don't you think, short comparison, don't you think it's a disconnect?
Okay, thank you very much for the comparison. Thoughts. Let me go to the man at the back.
Good afternoon. Mohamed Lamin Panya from AYV. The Minister of Trade, Dr. Sandy. Mine basically will be focusing on the budget. One essence of the budget given to any MDAs is to support the operations. I was expecting you to throw light about that. So my first question is, what is your development budget? I mean the total development budget, and what is its use? The other is, what are your plans to correct the massive balance of trade deficit, which is like the country is more of importing than exporting. In a nutshell, what I mean to say is, what are your plans to arrest the balance of trade deficit that have placed the country to lower position in terms of competitiveness? The last one, you made mention that the country is in a turbulent mood. Are you trying to say President Bio has failed us?
Thank you very much. Over to you here. You have somebody with a mic very close to you. Use the mic there. You're smiling more than what you mean. All right, thank you.
I'm Ahmed Kamara of the Washington State. My first question is to the Honorable Minister of Information, sir. You take into consideration what took place in Kuala with this, sir, and in fact, President Dio has set up a peace commission, which we were expecting, which was set up to ensure unity and national cohesion of this country. But taking into consideration what took place in Kuala with this, sir, what mechanisms would you expect the government to put in place to ensure transparency and accountability come 2022 or 2023 elections? My next question is for the Honorable Minister as well, for Dr. Inga Sadisa. Permit me, sir, because this is not a preamble, I must say, because if you listen to what international journalists and the BBC and other do say, whenever they want to ask a question, they got a little bit of preamble to make you understand what's more better where they are.
Yeah, wasting time.
Okay, sir, thank you, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir. From what we got from statistics radio, they say that inflation has gone up from 10.5% to 10.88% this month. From the governor of the Bank of Sierra says that, of course, the valuation is going out of control because there is no control absolutely in the formal market. Then comes what is from the World Health Organization, African Director for Vaccination and Development in Africa. He says 6 billion vaccines already manufactured, only 4% have reached 1.3 billion people in Africa. He continues to say, of 54 countries surveyed, only 15 countries have, of course, scored the perfect grade. 39 are struggling, and of 39 countries left, 2% of the population have taken the jab. One out of 10 nurses are, of course, yet to take vaccines. And what I want to say is, what factor could we, with all this indication, could we associate to the cost of living that we presently experiencing, as you rightly say? It is not your intention, it's not government's intention, but it's a global issue that we should answer. Thank you.
All right, the mic over here, yes. This is the last set.
Thank you very much. I am Abubakar Munu. I work for a local NGO or human rights outfit based in Makeni. Mr. Minister, I was taken aback a moment ago when you said most of the pepper we consume during the rains is coming all the way from Nigeria and other places. The question is, what are you doing to turn around the situation in that respect? Because taking into consideration the ordinary man out there, for all you may know, is not interested in all of the explanation you are giving, but rather looking at the short to medium term of fixing up things. As your colleague usually said, we are here, hit the ground running to fix up things. So what are you doing?
All right. Yes, last, but I think that's the last question. Right, so over to the ministers.
Well, I'm going to answer some of the questions and then ask my chief director to come in. I mean, like I said, we're going to find it hard to be explaining this, but gradually we'll try to repeat ourselves over and over and over and over again. What should we do so that we produce enough pepper in Sierra Leone? I think it's a question for the Minister of Agriculture. All I can say is we're working very, very closely with them to see how we try to optimize agricultural productivity. However, to make sure that you have enough pepper on your table year-round, the Ministry of Trade and Industry is supporting 75 small and medium enterprises through a World Bank sponsored project in developing factories for agro-processing. And today you have a number of those small and medium enterprises who are doing a variety of agro-processing. Rice milling and bagging and packaging, palm oil extraction, making tomato paste, pepper sauces. So I think what we're doing in that direction, and also ensuring that some of these SMEs can come together and see how they can merge to form big partnerships, so that when we have a boom harvest in pepper, instead of allowing it to waste and perish, we're going to have factories that should be able to convert those items into products that will stay on the shelves for a long time. So now it's our responsibilities as Sierra Leoneans to start changing our consuming habit. Instead of always wanting to use raw pepper, we can still start thinking of using the processed pepper in bottles for cooking. I'll also have to go to the question which my brother asked. I think for all the reasons you mentioned, I think we're here because of those reasons. I mean, it's not just one. It's not just like, although you would want to really attribute everything to what COVID has done, because COVID is the one that has caused all of these other events to happen. When COVID started, there were a lot of lockdowns. Ships would go dock at quays and nobody there to enter, and we'll have to stay there. And so today, as I speak to you, if you go to certain ports, there are long queues, ship just waiting to be unloaded. So it's very, very clear that all of what you have just mentioned are part of the reasons why things have really gone up. So even the cost of fuel, the cost of crude oil, climate change. Now, after Biden took over, I think the United States has taken climate change as a very serious thing. And you see the whole world is gravitating towards cleaner energy, but it goes at a cost. Today, I'm told that China is going to regulate electricity supply because they want to shut down a number of their coal plants as one of the requirements for their response to climate change mitigation efforts. So what does that mean? Of course, a good number of the factories are going to have scheduled electricity supply, and that's going to slow down production, and all of that is going to impact the availability of commodities. I want you to understand that. I wish I was here to answer questions on the budget, but I think I'm going to leave that with the Chief Director to give you answers on the budget. The massive balance of trade deficit, I told you that the industry policy we have revised and also the special economic zone policy we're looking at is going to ensure that we are able to produce enough and export. Produce what we consume. So what that is going to help us do is cut down on our importation and increase the volume of our export. Not only the volume and value of our export. So if you just export raw cocoa, even when you'll be exporting 5 million containers, it won't have the same value if you're going to export 5 millions of chocolate. So for every value addition you do, you're increasing the value of your export, and that's going to help you offset the balance of trade. We're already there because the Minister himself has stated it that what we import is huge and what we export is very small, and what we export is of low value. Imagine if you're going to start extracting iron from the iron ore. The iron you should be exporting is going to be of high value compared to the unprocessed iron ore. It's the same that's going to happen to every other product that you're going to do value addition to. So I think explaining the fact that we are going to increase our industry base, we have already reviewed our industry policy. We're now going to introduce the special economic zone, and that we are even doing agreements with factories. I just talked to you about the one meeting I had this afternoon with a group that wants to come and open the stationery factory. Imagine if that stationery factory is going to open here, and that is going to help us cut down on, let's even say 30% of what we import as stationery. That is going to add up to offsetting the balance of trade. I hope you understand that. To say that the global environment is in turbulence would mean that President Bill has failed. I think it's a disservice. Well, maybe you have to say that the whole world will fail, because not only Sierra Leone that is encountering this turbulence. But I told you we are in a very serious situation. Okay.
I mentioned turbulence.
If I should borrow your words, your own words, if I should borrow them, turbulent. No, but not my words. I think I did not say that. Let's be respectful. I mean, you cannot put your word into my mouth. I said that we find ourselves in a very difficult moment. I think I can still use my own very words. Whether you want to take.
I was quoting President Bill. He said so during the launch of the digital ID system at Radisson Blue that we are in turbulent weather, but it was a tried, tested, and proven pilot, and he will land the flight safely.
And let me explain this to you. Let me also let you understand that no road is absolutely smooth. Even when you do your normal journeys, you come across turbulent moments. You come across curves. Except if you want to say you are that kind of driver that will never check when you enter into a curve. These things happen, and when they happen, I think it's the leadership, the ability of that leadership to be able to calm things down, find solutions, I think is what is very, very important. What have we done to reduce the impact of COVID? This is what we're doing. Making sure that we bring in more industries. Of course, government has done a number of things. You even see what we're doing with the vaccines, how much we are out there to advocate for more vaccines to come. But the impact of COVID itself is being dealt with in our own way. I mean, that we depend on imports and that freights are going up, that's why prices of commodities are going up. If we focus on what we do with local production, that in itself is a way of dealing with COVID. Take a look at what we did with the Munafa Fund, supporting small and medium enterprises with access to finance. Before I actually got convinced and initiated a discussion to create a microfinance facility, I went to Cambia, and there was one particular microfinance institution that was giving 10 million euros to our traders. And for that 10 million euros, they were supposed to be paying back 2,200,000 and something every month for 12 months. When I calculated the percentage interest, were well over 80%. So, His Excellency the President was very, very clear, even in his manifesto, that we're going to be here to create, to expand access to finance. And so when we took over, we agreed that we're going to make sure that we try to limit interest rate to 1 digit. And you can see that that's how the Munafa Fund came into operation.
Okay, the previous case, he meant 18%, well over 18%. I thought I had 80. Yes, it's 80.
Yeah. But just do the calculation. If you have to pay 2,000, 2,200,000 in 12 months. You're paying well for 10 million. So you see, that was what was happening. So that we came in with the Munafa, and government has committed itself to support it this year with 70 billion loans and interest rate to sell it at 70,000. After selling it, he's going to stop bringing it. Come back to tell the minister, but cement says we not there. Even when you tell us cement is sold at 70,000, the very 70,000 we said in the sell cement, the cement not there. So what sense will it make?
Dr. Sandy, those of us who are old enough, we have lived through an era of price control here. Those were extremely difficult times. I see a lot of journalists around the table are much younger guys here. We used to queue up, even Mr. Mulu there. We used to queue up for long hours as kids, yeah? They brought this almost infected rice that you pick literally for the whole day, you know? Kids had no time to study, and they literally hoarded everything. Those were extremely dark days for our country. For those of us who saw those, who lived through those times, we don't want to see a repeat of it. Let us have the goods here. Government will continue to do our best to ensure that we, by all means necessary, ensure that we make it accessible and affordable. But let us not go back to those days when you don't even see them. Right?
Thank you very much, ministers. I'm going to be very brief, and I'm going to take a different posture just to say that we are thankful to God for His grace and favor on Sierra Leone. At the moment, Sierra Leone supports Liberia. We moved so close to 170,000 bags of rice to Liberia on a weekly basis. The price of rice in Liberia is at $70 US. We support Liberia with vegetable oil. We support Liberia with petroleum products.
Yeah.
If we look at the region, what is happening in Ghana and Nigeria as we speak, there's a big dispute between the retailers and the wholesalers. It's a massive challenge. If you look at what is happening in Mali, I'm giving you a synopsis of what's happening in the region. Why we need to be thankful for what we have been able to accomplish as a people within this current dispensation. There has never been a shortage nor any queue for any of the essential commodities inside there. We were very proactive as a government to predict, even I can tell you what will happen with bottles in the next 2 months, because we studied the markets diligently, look at alternative trade opportunities. When it was difficult for our people to go to China, now we have 3 weekly Turkish flights loaded with our people going to Turkey. We have been able to set the foundations. Rome wasn't built in a day. What I would want to as we speak, you need to look at the figures, what we were importing in terms of vegetable oil, how much reduction that has, and what it means to the economy in terms of foreign exchange. What it means small businesses to receive loans of 5 to 10 million at an interest rate of 9%. What it means for 60 of our agro-processors receiving grants of excess of $50,000 per person.
Next time we'll bring some of those grants, you say how to talk to you directly.
Yes. We are on an upward trajectory. We have increased, like Minister said, we have increased our storage capacity. Our buffer stock or our security stock levels for petroleum products is at an appreciable level. We are entertaining investors from all over the world queuing up because we continue to be a relatively stable country, peaceful. We continue to be one of the most attractive foreign direct investment haven because the legal environment is there. Once you come to Sierra Leone, the investment is safe, it is protected, it is secure. And we as government continue to work collaboratively to ensure that all that you need. It will be instructive for you, colleagues, to look at the Finance Act, to see what government has put in for 2021. Plenty incentives. For our capital budget this year, in terms of government, we have 5 billion that we are asking government to give to us. Our recurrent budget is about 9 billion. But as a ministry, we are looking at alternative revenue sources to be able to complement the work that we do and what government is doing. So most of our legislations that we are talking about authoritatively, we have secured funding for them. We are reviewing legislations, we are reviewing policies, we are organizing donor roundtables because everybody elsewhere respects and honors what we do at the Ministry of Trade and my government by extension. So we are recognized. We are recognized. We have support from the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, supporting us in industrial policy. And as he said, we have support from UNIDO. We have been reinstated, paid our dues to the WTO. The minister will leading a delegation to the MC12 this year, meeting with the highest bodies, discussing our fishery subsidy, discussing our agricultural subsidy. Salon de Gobivo. Whether we like it or not, we are moving forward. And that is where we are.
Thank you. MSC. All right. On this note, because journalists have to go to bed, and that's our media time. Going to bed, they know what I mean. And those with the editorial